I was going over some stocks just yesterday and came across some interesting what do you call patterns. And some of this doesn't surprise me, but some of it does. So this is in relation to all the left-wing tech companies and their big conspiracy to censor the right, to censor white people, and promote all this anti-white racist filth and genocidal filth. And they're controlling all the media, all the mainstream media, and things are rapidly changing now. I'm going to show you a bunch of statistics, and you'll see that it's all the same pattern, in most cases at least. Around 2013, which was conveniently the time I started going public, around 2013, all these tech companies, they just had a massive spike in value upward. And all around the same time in 2013. And then, as of mid 2018, about 3 months ago from when I'm making this video, they've all taken a nosedive all at the same time. So they all rise at the same time, and they all start falling at the same time. And they're dramatically falling. So I'll start by going to where it all started with Facebook. So here is the Facebook stock. So if you might be familiar, is Facebook lost 20% of its value in a single day. In a single day, lost 20% of its value. And ever since, it's dramatically falling. Dramatically falling faster than it's ever risen. And this is all in relation to the Mark Zuckerberg hearings. So all these lefty scumbags, they've been conspiring for a long time, and around 2013 something happened, and they've gained all this power and money, and it's all come to a head, and it's reached a critical point where people are fighting back in governments and stuff like that. And this war between good and evil, the right and the left, what's called the right and the left, because I'm neither right nor left, although in current circumstances I lean toward the right. But it's just a label that things have come under. They don't necessarily mean what they historically meant, but it's just calling the left and the right. All these conspiring lefty criminals who had performed a coup in governments and industries around 9/11, and they've been slowly rising since. And then in 2013, something happened, and they rose dramatically, and all this censorship kind of bullshit took hold. Now, at the start of 2018, they went crazy with all this censorship, all of them, all at the same time. And if you're watching this video, you're likely familiar with examples, like Alex Jones, for example, in the way that they targeted him and boasted about it and everything, and denied it and then boasted about it. He's not the only one. I'm censored everywhere. I'm censored more than anyone. But this has happened to people everywhere. I can't even make YouTube videos anymore without getting censored. So in 2013, it all rose, and in mid, I think it was July 11th, I think it was, in 2018, around the middle of 2018, the Mark Zuckerberg hearings happened, and Mark Zuckerberg had to answer to all this political scrutiny, and all these people who invested into all these corrupt organizations in 2013. They've all shut themselves over this, and 2 weeks after the Mark Zuckerberg hearings, they all started selling all their stocks and abandoning all their support for all these tech companies. Not one of them, but all of them. The same people, same filthy rich scumbags, globalist scumbags, involved in all these companies. So they all rise and fall at the same time. So 2 weeks after the Mark Zuckerberg hearings, they all just drop, like dramatically fall. They're collapsing. So where is it? Here's an example of the Facebook drop in one day, where they lost 20% of their value in one day. You can see that the height. That was the height of it, and that was 2 weeks. So July 11th to July 25th, like 2 weeks after Zuckerberg hearings, Facebook dropped dramatically. And look at it, steady drop ever since. So let's look at all these other tech companies and see there's a pattern here in all this corrupt shit that's going on. While all the right-wing kind of stuff is growing very, very steadily upward, and it's a prime time to invest. All these lefty scum, they're all just falling to pieces. So let's look at some other ones. Here is Amazon. As you can see, September, a little bit later than the others, by a month or two, and sharp fall. So Apple, June 1. Apple fell before Facebook did. So the fact that this happened before started happening before the Mark Zuckerberg hearings. The Mark Zuckerberg hearings were the result of what was going on. So it's not surprising that Apple had fallen just before. That's all around the same time. Also, all the same cause. So here's Blizzard. They've taken a dramatic fall. Look at that. All at the same time. Here's EA, known for all their social justice warrior lefty crap. Look at their drop. eBay started dropping a lot earlier than everyone else. This was when they saw this massive censorship campaign, or phase of the campaign, really took hold around the start of the year, and this is shortly after that started. So eBay started suffering the effects of this early on, before the Zuckerberg hearings and stuff. Here's Google. Even Google's taken a dive. Here's Microsoft. Look, you can see all around the same time, they just have this sharp rise and then a sudden drop all around the same time. And there's the same cause for all of them. They're not as powerful as they're saying. They're all falling to pieces. Now here's NCSoft. Now NCSoft, they took the other way. Now you can see their rising and falling has nothing to. It's out of this pattern. They are rising as of about probably as a result of the Guild Wars campaigns around the late 2000s. That's when they started to rise a bit regarding to that, and they screwed themselves over with Guild Wars 2. And despite that, they've done some other, even though they're a shady company, but they're not connected to all this lefty globalist bullshit. They still managed to slowly rise, or not slowly, kind of dramatically a little bit. And they've had bits of up and downs, but they're still going up. And look, in recent times, they've risen. So why have they risen? Well, there was this big conspiracy in NCSoft. And people tried to pull the feminist victim card kind of crap. And two employees, they decided to do the right thing. They said, no, fuck you. We're going to fire both of you little shits promoting all this lefty bullshit. We're going to fire both of you. All the feminists and everything went crazy over it, and it was a massive event in the gaming industry. And look, they've had a surge. They've risen dramatically, more than any other time in history, as a result. So the right wing is dramatically winning, and the left wing is dramatically falling. Let's just go back to other lefty companies. Netflix, look at that. There's another dramatic dive. PayPal are diving too. And PayPal have been involved in shutting down all these all the PayPal accounts for all this right wing stuff, and they're taking a fall. Not as dramatic as the others. It was dramatic, and it's risen a little bit, but it's up. It's still falling since the last couple of months. They've reached their peak around the same time, and they're falling at the same time. Here's Sony. You can see Sony a long time ago had a massive rise, probably due to the PlayStation PlayStation 1 would have been to do with their dramatic rise a long time ago. And then they've been kind of a bit all over the place, but haven't really been making any progress. They slowly went downhill, and then around the same time, around 2013, they start dramatically rising, like everyone else did. And on the same time, they have a dramatic fall. Now, Sony have been involved in all this lefty social justice warriors bullshit, banning right-wing people. They've had a lot of controversies over this shit themselves. All the same crap. So here's Twitter. Now, Twitter has been a little bit different. They've been slow to make any progress. They've been screwing themselves over because they've been doing this lefty bullshit for a long time. And as you can see, they had a few sharp rises in 2013 as a result of this push. But people have bought stocks and stuff, and then they've just sold it off. That's too unstable, and they dropped, and then they were fairly steady for a while, and then they started rising again, and then they reached a peak. All at the same time, bang! They're falling down. Now, despite these stocks, Twitter's in a lot more shit than all these investors and everything are showing. Twitter's in shit more than anyone. And if you look at alternatives like Gab.ai, which is now Gab.com, they've got rid of the frog animation, frog image of their meme. Now it's just a simple word, Gab. But Gab, BitChute, all these anti-censorship, pro-freedom of speech kind of places, they're rising dramatically, and they're rising steadily too. So all these investors who have decided that their money and power is more important than their political motives, their globalist political agenda, they're willing to. They'd rather be rich than blow all their money on this political agenda. They're going to be progressively investing into this right wing stuff. They're gonna jump ship. They've been jumping ship ever since a few months ago. So where are they investing all their money in now? Well, they're taking it all away from these lefty scumbags, and they've got to put it somewhere. So where are they putting it? Well, what we can see is a slow and steady rise in right wing stuff, and there's a dramatic difference going here. The tables have dramatically turned over the past 3 months. So this is a result of all this censorship bullshit, all this corrupt political narrative, these globalist, pro-Muslim, pro-LBGT, pro-feminist, anti-white bullshit, and anti-male and anti-Christian as well. It's all anti-white. That's what it all is. It's globalists, Zionists, whatever you want to call them. All their ideologies, they've become desperate at around the new year between 2017 and 2018, and this little scheme that they've had going, they've acted out of desperation, and when they do that, there are consequences. So they did rise at first. Most of them rose at first as a result of this, of grasping power and abusing that power. But there are consequences of that, and people have got progressively pissed off until about 3 months ago. The pushback of this has reached critical mass, and it's all going to shit. And even the US government have decided they're going to start cracking down on it. If you look at the Mark Zuckerberg hearings, you'll get an idea what I mean. And but the Mark Zuckerberg hearings were a critical point in all of this. Is all these lying scumbags realized, holy shit, they're going to fight back, and they've got the power to fight back, and we have a lot less power than we're making out. We're fucked. Let's pull our money out of all these organizations and do something else with it. So what's happened is they split into two groups. Those who are pushing this anti-white political narrative, they've just become desperate, and they're just openly doing this shit rampantly, openly in the open nowadays, and they know they're fucked, and they're just trying to cause as much destruction as they can, and they will fuck over in everything. They'll abandon everything. They'll pull themselves into absolute poverty in order to to have a last attack against the white race, knowing that their days are numbered and they're running out of time and they're fucked. So they're using what little they have left. They're going all out, and there are going to be consequences of it, as there have just been consequences of it. And the other side of things are all these filthy rich people who are also corrupt, but they've decided they're going to distance themselves from these other lying scumbags because their money and their power is more important. They'd rather change sides or stay neutral than take part in this campaign, because they know that they're going to lose all their power. So they still want to hold on to their power and see maybe we can do something else with the power we've got, but we're not going to blow our power along with you guys. So I just thought I'd show these statistics, stock market statistics, just to show how things are dramatically changing. The critical points is around 2013, where they started rising, and about 3 months ago, where they started falling, and they're dramatically falling. And it's all the same pattern on all these companies who are involved in censorship and shit, anti-white narrative. They're all collapsing. And anyone who chooses the other side, who defends the white race, who stands up against feminism, LGBT, and social justice warriors and Islam and all this shit, they're dramatically rising, and they're rising at a very steady, reliable speed. So those who have left all these left techies, only some of them have invested in the right. The rest have remained neutral, and they've withdrawn from the political narrative. And expect more dramatic changes to come. None of this is by accident. It's not a coincidence that they all rise and fall at the same time like this. There are things going on, ideological warfare going on, a sequence of events that are with an inevitable result. Just as if you plant a seed, it's going to grow into a tree. It's going to grow fruit, and those fruit are going to fall from the tree, and they're going to grow other trees. It's a sequence to events that is unavoidable. It's inevitable. For example, what they did at the start of 2018, when they engaged in this rampant phase of corrupt censorship and propaganda and shit, it's there's inevitable consequences of that, and those consequences are simply playing themselves out. Now, the U.S. government is key to this because they've been slow to respond, and as they said, they are slow to respond, but when they do respond, they respond overkill. And that's exactly what's going on. They're all shitting themselves over what the US government's going to do. So, Donald Trump didn't seem to affect his election win. Didn't seem to directly affect these techies, not straight away, but he's a factor in this government push. So look at these statistics and realize that there are things going on, and there are things that are dramatically changing. The side of corruption is they're turning against each other. They're abandoning all their corrupt little alliances that they got and conspiracy schemes shit that they've got going. They don't know who they can trust. And meanwhile, the resistance against this corruption is steadily and stably growing. And there are more critical mass points that will happen in the near future. And let's just see what happens. You know, I'm key to what is to happen. That's why I say I'm looking for the flowers from among the weeds in the war to end all wars, the war between good and evil. The most important period of time in mankind's history and future is now. So if you want to be one of the flowers from among the weeds and fight the war between good and evil, don't go out there jumping on any cause, being a bandwagoner, just jumping on some cause to feel good about yourself. That's no, because that makes you one of the weeds. You're not a flower. I'm searching for the real flowers, the genuine forces of good, who are willing to do what needs to be done in the war between good and evil, who aren't going to just sit by and do nothing, and they're going to put everything on the line to do the right thing, even if it costs them their life or more than their life. I'm looking for the real flowers from among the weeds.